Hello, everybody. This is going to be the introductory video for Nuke Med 4333. Quality Assurance is the name of the course. And I wanted to give you this introductory video to get you started. Summer semester is a shortened semester. It's only about half the length of the semesters that we've done previous in the program. And so I wanted to be able to have you get started right away. We're not going to meet for a Zoom class until May 15th. But the classes will be available this first week. So I wanted to give you an opportunity to get started on the assignments and the things that we'll do. So what I want to do then is I just want to go over the class. We'll cover the syllabus, the module, and the assignments, and kind of give you everything you need to get started on the class. And then we'll see you on the 15th after that. So let me just share my screen and we'll go over to Canvas. And we'll show you what we're doing here. Okay. All right, so I've got Canvas pulled up here and I'm in what we call student view, which means it's just going to look exactly like what it should look like for you. All of my extra stuff is gone, so hopefully that helps. This on the home page is you can find most things for the course. What I've got here is, of course, the first thing is this introduction video, which I want you to watch to get started. Obviously, if you're watching this video right now, then you've been able to locate that. So that's where that video will reside. Then on this page, we have the syllabus, which we'll go through, and then we'll talk about our quality assurance module and an example. So we'll kind of get you started with that. So let's jump into the syllabus first, and this will kind of give you an idea of what this class is and what we're doing, and hopefully get you going. Let's go ahead and make this a little bigger. All right. So like I mentioned before, this is Nuclear Medicine 4333. This is quality assurance. As with other classes, I've got my myself listed as the instructor. I've got my email address for my Weber account. But again, as I've always said, if you'll use messaging on Canvas to contact me, that seems to be a way that I get a hold of you a lot quicker and respond a lot quicker. There is no actual textbook for this course. And so I've listed here C module page 1. So I'm going to go over the module with you here in a minute, but that's where you'll reference for the course material for this class. Now I will say that in the module I'll have listed some books, but all of those are reference to books that you already have in courses that you've done in this class. Okay. All right, and then just to kind of give you a course outline. This first week of May, or this first week that classes are starting, again, we're going over this introductory video right now. We're going to review syllabus, and then we're going to talk about the quality assurance manual assignment. Now, our first actual class where we meet will be on May 15th. It's an 8 o'clock Zoom meeting, so an early one for us. Everybody bring your caffeine. And that's where I will do a lecture on quality assurance. Then June 5th, it's actually going to be June 5th and 6th. We'll be meeting for our other class, which is our board's review class, or our comprehensive review class. That's an on-campus meeting. And so I listed that here so that if we need to take time for quality assurance, we can. We may just move on to the review and have more time for that. As you'll see with this class, we don't necessarily need a lot of meeting times because of the nature of what the assignment is, which we'll get into in a minute. So, and then I have a due date here for the quality assurance manual that we'll reference here in a minute of June 23rd. And that's just kind of the date I've been given for the end of everything. So as you can see, we're starting here really in kind of almost this, second week of May. May 5th is technically the start here. And we have till June 23rd. So it's a shortened semester. So this is why I wanted to get on here, get this explanation out to you so you can kind of get things going. Now, in terms of course requirements and grades, I've listed those here and the things that you'll get points for. I'm just going to read this. The final course will be, grade will be based on submission of a quality assurance manual. Again, I'll explain all that to you here in a minute. That's turned into me by the submission due date. And then the point values that are broken up for the quality assurance manual are: number one, did you answer objectives outlined in the module? Number two, is it organized and usable as an actual quality assurance manual in an imaging department, which is what this manual's purpose is? And then number three, is it a good reference for registry study for your board's review? And that's kind of what I put my point value on. Again, as we talk about the quality assurance manual itself, I'll get some more explanations for what that means. And then I, of course, have the due date listed. Okay. So that's syllabus, pretty simple. There's not a lot on it. As you can see, this class is kind of a one assignment project type class. And so let's go and find that, and we'll go over that next. So if I go back to the home page, and really everything for this class you can find on the home page, other than assignments. If you go in there, that will have the link when you're ready to submit your quality assurance manual. You'll go in there. But let's go look at the actual module that helps walk you through creating a manual. And that's located right here. Let's go ahead and make this big. Okay, so I'm going to walk you through a big majority of this manual. We'll kind of walk through everything so you can get a good idea of what it is. Introduction, and I'm going to go ahead and read this, and this is just kind of to make sure I explain it without leaving anything out. But the educational objectives and learning experiences outlined in this course of study are intended to introduce the student to quality assurance concepts and procedures utilized in typical medical nuclear medicine imaging departments. The primary focus of the course will be the student development of a quality assurance manual containing information and procedures that will meet federal and accreditation requirements. So essentially, what the assignment is you're going to be creating a quality assurance manual. I mentioned in the syllabus, the purposes of this manual are, first and foremost, we want to help you learn quality assurance, what's required, what it's all about, so that you have that information for your boards, of course. The second purpose is that we want this to be an actual manual that you could take into a department and have be a part of a department for quality assurance in your department, right? So you're creating that. So again, I listed the textbooks down here. Again, the textbooks that are listed right here are all of the textbooks that you should already have. The other one that's in here also is this Review of Nuclear Medicine Technology Bolus book. This is the one that you're going to be getting this semester for the comprehensive review class. So and then the rest of these books are ones that you already have, okay? So this module that I'm showing you right now, as you go through it, it's going to reference all of those different books that you already have and give you a place to go to learn the information that you're trying to learn. And one other thing I didn't point out at the beginning of this is this course several years back was initially designed as almost an independent study course. I don't fully teach it that way anymore. But as you'll see in a minute, this quality assurance manual is going to be based on the current department that you're working in. Every department's different. Every department has different imaging equipment. So for a lot of what makes quality assurance, there'll be similar things in departments, but then when it comes to equipment, there'll be separate different things. And so this manual, I want you to base it on the department that you're in right now, okay? And this gives you an idea of how to do that. And so, again, so that's why for some of this, it's very independent in nature. And then in other things, there are standard things that we'll learn and that will be applicable directly to your boards. So I have it listed as an independent study course. I don't really do it that way. I am going to have a full lecture that we do that will give you a lot of the information that you'll see here in the quality assurance manual and the things you need. But this is going to point you in the right direction. So those are your textbooks. Now, the educational objectives in this packet are designed to assist you in learning, organizing, and creating a document which will be used as a guide in exam certification study, as well as a tool in your Nuke Med department. You're responsible for organizing and producing a quality assurance manual for yourself. This QA manual is your grade for the course. So this manual is it. You got one assignment, and it's basically a project. And again, shorter semesters. So we've got one main project that you're going to work on for this class, and turn in, okay? And so that's what this module is going to take you through. So the way the module is set up is it's got educational objectives. So this is just like other modules that you've had. These are going to be questions that you're going to go through and answer, okay? So you have 7 sections, right? Section 1 through 7, and you'll follow through, and there's questions, and we'll come back and look at some of these. And then after the portion where you answer the questions, which is what helps you create your manual, you'll come down here and you'll notice, again, like other manuals or other modules we've done, I've got learning activities that go with the sections, okay? So the learning activity section is where you're going to be pointed to the different textbooks and different things that you need to do to create the manual and answer the objectives in the questions above, okay? So let's go look at some of those. Sorry, I've got a yak in my throat today. Okay, so section 1, establishment and administration. And then you're going to notice there's 3 kind of questions to answer. So question 1, identify the purpose, priorities, requirements, and goal of a quality assurance program in a nuclear medicine department. Number 2, who should be involved in the quality assurance program? In other words, responsibilities and the daily tasks that those individuals have. What's the importance of a license to operate a nuclear medicine, excuse me, let me read that again. What is the importance of the license to operate a radionuclide imaging department where you perform your clinical education? What type of license does your department have? Is your state an agreement state? So these are things you're all going to be looking up and studying and figuring out. Now, as you go through these, when you hand your module into me, I want it to look just like you see here. So when I open up the first page of your manual, I want it to show section 1. It's going to be listed establishment and administration. Then you're going to have number 1, and then you're going to have that section where all these things are defined and laid out. Number 2, all of those laid out. Number 3, everything laid out. So I want you to follow the format that I have in here for creating this, this manual, okay? So that's section 1, establishment and administration. Section 2, patient scheduling, management, and satisfaction. I just noticed that management does not have a T. I've used this document for several years, and I'm noticing management doesn't have a T. Sorry about that. Okay, so in this section, number 1, develop a scheduling sequence for laboratory or X-ray or sequential nuke med imaging studies to be given to either a nursing floor or a patient scheduling office. So this question is essentially asking, are there studies that need to be done before or after your nuke med study? Depending on the type of nuke med study, you might have to do something in a different order. So this is something where it keeps quality assurance for patients and a department by getting things scheduled correctly. And again, a scheduling office needs to know these kinds of things, and so does a floor. And so, for example, a minute ago, I told you guys, when you're making this document, I want you to make it based on the department you're currently doing your clinicals in. Why? Well, because everybody's different. You might not do certain exams in your department that another tech is doing in their department, right? So I want you to stick with that. So when you develop a scheduling sequence, you're going to think of the exams you do, and you're going to do answer these questions based on those, and give instructions to a nursing floor or a scheduling office on things that would be pertinent for the exams you do. Second one is develop a chart for nursing or scheduling department personnel, which lines patient medications prior to the test, which interfere with scheduled nuke med studies, and patient preparation requirements and instructions for the studies performed in their nuke med department. So again, this is all things that are going to make it so that when your patient shows up, they're prepared for the test, right? So any preps, any medications that go along with the exams you do. Number 3, create a patient satisfaction questionnaire. Number 4, develop guidelines or outline special patient considerations such as gravid nursing patients, pediatric doses, sedation, etc. So you can see that these questions are going to build this section 2, which is patient scheduling, management, and satisfaction, right? And so you're going to answer those things and organize it in such a way that if you worked in a department, you could say, what do we do for patient scheduling? And you open it up and you're like, okay, this is how it works. I can hand this to a nurse on a floor. I can hand this to scheduling and have them work, okay? Section 3 is nuke med staff considerations. And there's a few educational objectives there. Create an employee orientation. Describe in-service and education in the department. Why is that important, and how do you accomplish in-service and education in your department? Review methods on how to explain nuclear medicine procedures to a patient or to a physician or to other departments in the hospital. Section 5, radiation protection and personnel monitoring. This section right here, all these sections are important, but this one I guarantee a bunch of this stuff's going to be on your board, right? So review and document. How do you review and document personnel, radiation dose, occupational limits? What are they supposed to be, and how do you keep track of that in your department? Describe radiation protection procedures and monitoring of equipment. Talk about ALARA, personal radiation badges. How do we deal with those in your department? Special considerations for pregnancy of staff members or things like that. So these are all radiation protection, right? Section 5, radiopharmaceutical doses, transport, and hot lab. So this is what the requirements are for hot lab, when you can receive a dose, radionuclide purity, talking about Moly breakthrough, NCR limits. What do you have to do when you receive a dose, and when something leaves your department is being picked up. So all of those things are covered here. And then section 6, instrumentation and quality control, right? So what you're going to do here is it's going to say identify radionuclides used in quality procedures, identify types of phantoms used in instrumentation quality control procedures. So what are the phantoms that are required for your department in the quality control? And then number 2, it asks you to develop a step-by-step procedure for each of the quality control procedures listed below. Now, I listed these 3. Your departments are all going to have survey meters, well counters, dose calibrators, likely a gamma camera. You may or may not have a PET. But again, when you get to this section and you're saying, okay, now I'm going to list out the quality control and what we do for each camera, just do it on the equipment that you have. And the idea behind this one is like, hey, if I'm a new tech to the department and I'm not remembering what you guys do for QC and what you do on each camera, I can open up your quality assurance manual and be like, oh, this is how you do it. This is what's listed. This is what we go through. So that's the kind of thing that I'm here, or asking for here. So instrumentation and quality control, right? And then section 7 is new equipment purchase, processing, acceptance testing, and problem solving. So this is going to be number 1, when purchasing new equipment, discuss the process to include the following concepts: determination of performance specifications, acceptance testing, continued monitoring program. When equipment malfunctions, what's the process to determine that and solve the problem and get service, and how does that all work? Okay, so all of these, again, this seems like, oh man, this is a lot of stuff to answer, and it is. It's your whole entire grade for the class. But all of this stuff, to answer all of this, I've pointed you in directions, right? So down here, you've got places to look in all of our books that we have. The other one, for example, like you might think, okay, new equipment purchase and processing and acceptance and things like that, that may not be listed directly in one of our texts. Why? Because it's going to be a little different, again, depending on the department you're in and how they do it. So you'll notice that, like, for example, on section 7, if we go down for learning activities, I listed the internet, which isn't the ultimate source, obviously, but this one's really important. Discuss the new equipment purchase process with your department head. So go to your department managers, say, hey, I have an assignment in school and they want us to know how a purchase process works and how we do that and how do we get new equipment in, and ask them and talk to them and get the information and see what they tell you, and however they do it is how I want you to, what I want you to put in here. What did you learn from them about how that process works and how we get equipment and how we can make sure it works and it's tested and ran and ready to go, so that when you guys walk into the department, you got a working gamma camera, right? So that's the kind of thing. So you'll be pointed in right directions. But again, just keep in mind as you make this manual that you're looking at your department, okay? The department you're currently in. Now I have a guy that I work with right now who, when he first got done with his schooling, he went and he got a job at a different place, and they literally wanted him to open up and run this nuclear medicine department. And they were doing this same assignment in Weber even back when I was a student. And he took his QA manual that he had created, and he literally was able to use that as his department quality assurance manual with probably a few edits and a few adjustments according to their equipment. but he was able to use it and know what he was doing to establish all these things like hot labs and cameras and how do we do these things and how do we make a department work when it comes to quality assurance. And so that's kind of what you're after. You're gonna go through this process of this learning experience of making this quality assurance manual. Okay. So hopefully that's clear as mud, or at least it can get you started on what you're doing with this course, is that manual. Okay. Now on the 15th, what I'm going to do, actually, let me go back to that. Let's see. Actually, before I say that, instead of going back to that, let me give you an example. So I threw a quality assurance manual example, and I took some examples, even some of this is even from previous students, to kind of give you an idea of what I'm after. Now, obviously, you're going to notice when this document comes up, I listed at the top that this is not a full quality assurance manual, right? It would be kind of silly for me to throw a manual up here that, super tempting to copy an entire manual, right? So, but I pulled up sections of the manual so you can kind of get an idea of what people have done in the past and kind of what I'm after. Um, Hopefully this document's going to pull up. Here we go. Okay. So again, I list at the top, this document is meant to be an example. It's not a complete document. Sections are to give you an idea and are incomplete. Okay. So for example, like section 1 here, establishment administration, number 1, identify the purpose, priorities, requirements, and goal of the QA program in a new med department. So then this was bullet pointed, quality assurance, monitoring that follows a comprehensive plan with delineated quality and technical, and it went on, procedures and so on and so forth. So they described what quality assurance is, right? And again, I put and so on because I didn't want to put the whole thing on there. I want you guys to do this work. But who should be involved in a quality assurance program? Responsibilities and daily tasks. Again, bullet pointed, authorized user is a physician, and it's going to go list the authorized user and the techs and what their jobs are and things like that. Here's a chart I threw in here. It doesn't necessarily go with this section, but this is a chart someone had actually made that showed the quality control tests that they do in their department. So it listed a test, it listed a description of the test, and it listed how often they do the tests, right? So exactly what's in the manual, and they just did it in a chart form. So that's really cool. Here's a snippet from a section 2. So patient scheduling, management, and satisfaction. Remember where we talked about developing a chart for nursing and scheduling department, which outlines patient medications prior to tests. And this is like your preps, for the study. And so they just listed bone scan, inflammatory and lymphatic, brain, renal, pulmonary systems require no specific preparation. So they listed that. So for gastric empties, they listed both the HIDA, a gastric emptying HIDA and HIDA with ejection fraction. And then they listed that what they do in their department is NPO for 4 hours, no opiates. Anyway, it goes on and on, right? So just list the preps for the different tests that they do. Here's somebody did this one. They created a patient satisfaction questionnaire, okay, and made a chart out of it. That was kind of cool. And so anyway, this just gives you an example of charts people have done and things they've done in the past. And I'll just let you guys look at this. The other thing I was going to tell you, and I can't remember if I listed it somewhere on here, but don't be afraid. Like if your department that you work in right now has a chart like this and they're willing to let you use it, I'm okay with that. You don't have to recreate the wheel. You're going to still have to answer the module questions, but if you want to use one of their charts, like if your department has a chart like this that shows the tests they do and how often and things, and that's fine. You do need to get permission from your department to be able to use that information and then turn it in as part of your assignment. So I'll ask you to do that, but if your department has things that are established that you can use that are helpful for you to make this manual, I'm totally cool with that. Okay, so that's just an example that you can look at and use and roll with. Okay. All right, let's see. Is there anything else I wanted to cover to get you guys started? The only other thing I'll point out here is over on the assignments section. If you click on that, that's going to have where you can turn in your quality assurance manual. I'm going to click on that because I want to show you kind of what that looks like here. No, that's not what I want to show you. You've seen these before. I don't need to show you that. Anyway, that's where you can do it. I have text on here. I really hesitate to do that. It'd be nice to get an actual document that's, formatted nicely. These texts don't allow you to do that. So anyway, that's where you'll upload your assignment. That should be ready to go for you. And then the other thing I have listed on here in terms of Canvas is just our Zoom class. There we go. So May 15th at 8 a.m. So a lot of the, and I'll go over this when we have that class, but a lot of what's in that quality assurance manual, at least several sections, that I will be lecturing on and giving you some good information. So don't be too overwhelmed. I'll give you a lot of information in the lecture as well. And then, on the other flip side of that, there's going to be a lot of it that you just have to go to your department and figure all this stuff out. Okay. All right. I think that is it. If any of you have questions, please don't hesitate to reach out to me. Give me a call. And again, reference this video. Because of the limit time, I would say get started where you can get started. And we will see you on the 15th. So let me stop sharing. All right, guys. Hopefully that helps.